Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake Chats 2017. I don't have time for very much. I just want to come in and let you know that, wow, things are continue to be very different than how they were. And I want to just sort of roll with it and kind of feel this out and everything. And this morning it's just like, no, I gotta come. And of course, part of this is wondering exactly the necessity of coming anymore. And clearly coming in the height of confusion, well, I'd like to think that that's not going to happen anymore. But what has changed? I guess that's what's required of me to explain what's changed. Wow, it's with just like situations that are so predictable they could be scripted are going differently because I'm different. I'm responding differently. I'm withholding information when I normally didn't. I'm stating things when before I would have been silent. I'm not taking personally or as threat or insult things that actually have been handed to me as threat and as insult, but mainly just seeing all of it with so much more compassion for myself too. First thought this morning, you know how it works is that two people get together and they don't get along, and then they just part ways, and then later on one of them or both of them separately think, I wonder what's going on with that person. Oh yeah, they were doing la la. I didn't like that very much. I wonder if they still do la la. That's sort of how it works, which explains the continuity to some degree. We all give each other breaks with time. But I just, there's some things that I'm just not doing anymore. Just not playing. And they have to do with my not having a very good opinion of myself. And natively, it's not that high. I have to work at it. I really do. And I like being around people who help me with that, who see the good in me and see that I'm insecure and are kind about that. It's really sweet. So the changes, well, I'll tell you, energetically, they are intense. I get these swells of heat, and it feels like fullness. That's the word for it, fullness. It's like a tissue fullness. It feels like engorged tissue in my chest, my whole torso. It feels hot and swollen. And it doesn't last very long, but these swells, and so it's pressure and heat. And it's not like a heart attack kind of pain. It's not pain. It's just this weird, full heat. I did a long one on energetics yesterday because the energetics, just the way that energy's moving, it's just moving different. I keep hearing the word serpentine. which I think means for me that things may look like they're shifting or changing or moving and completely different than they used to be. It's a different part of the beast. It's a different part of the animal. An animal that moves and shows you different parts of it. Serpentine. Funny it isn't spiral, but it feels very independent, like things can move and shift and move and shift. It's quizzed. I've been quizzing myself about this old life, new life thing. That's something that's really mine. I've heard some people talk about it. Not many. And for me, it's really kind of the truth. In many ways. And I've wondered about that lately. This old life and this new life. I'm aware that with the changes that have happened in my family, there is a requirement to acknowledge an end to a way of life. It is in my interest and my kids' interest. And that may only be in regard to one other human or a set of humans, but it's more than that to me. Because weirdly enough, it gives me permission. It gives me permission to not so much walk away as to dismiss a way of life. That of ignoring what's being said or ignoring what's being done, but having to ignore something a lot to maintain a relationship, putting up with. And that's fine. Everybody has to put up with certain things with everybody else. That's fine. I'm not talking about people who snap their gum. I'm talking about people who have a darker agenda. And it's not so much to, I'm gonna come get you. They're just completely and utterly without empathy. And I have a lot of those kind of people in my life, actually. And it does something to a person who has empathy. And so that's been a big part of this. But then to realize that the people who don't have empathy lack it because they lack something very foundational, very important, and very peace-producing. They're scared, and I'm not. Their sight is short and darkened, and mine isn't. I see how I can be dismissive, and I don't like it. I see how I can be flip. I don't like it. But it's necessary. I want to be a comic. How can I be a comic if I am not allowed to be flip? So, I've been able to take the long view, and I've been able to forgive some things, dismiss some things, move past quite a few things. And it's just, I don't have the same kind of stickiness when I look back. I didn't do a lot of looking back for a long time. And I say that and know that it's disingenuous as I say it, because I had a lot that I needed to puzzle out. So it walked along with me. But it was largely silent. Now that I've really had a chance to unpack it and look at it and review it, I think that it's been very helpful. I'm very pleased with it. I don't think that a lot of people have to do it this way, because a lot of people don't have the Swiss cheese for memory that I do. They're not quite as cumulative as I am. They're not doing this work. But now that this has been complete, I just feel unencumbered. I feel light. Not so much suspended as justifiably lighter. I have been told that I'm in the process of some very unusual things this week and next. I'll watch them to see if that bears out. But I know internally I feel different. I feel good. Surprised. I consciously feel surprised at how my body feels, which, wow, talk about pain. So much physical pain. Riding along with all of this. But I try to have good thoughts about that. I try not to scare myself. I haven't been very successful with that. All right. Well, I need to go. We have a lot to do this early morning. I hope that the changes that are occurring on this planet in group consciousness and in individual consciousness are experienced by you in gentleness and in hope and in exhilaration. There's nothing that's happening that's bad. Things break apart that worked before but don't work anymore. I'm reminded of the grade school, high school metaphor. There are just certain things that are a super lot of fun when you're 7. But when you're 17, yes, it's so much fun to revisit. It's sentimental. You can remember a lot of things just by touching that train set or looking at those dolls. But it's memories. What one can do at 17 is far different than what one can do at 7. And longing for the simplicity of that 7-year-old's world is understandable. But if done long term, is not entirely healthy. So, for myself, I am doing what's healthy. Thank you very much. And I am healthy. And I always was, dear. I always was. I always was. Selah.